All right, welcome back to the deep dive. You ready for discussion #3?
Absolutely. I'm excited to dig in.
Okay, so, we've been exploring this idea of being alone and all the different ways it can, shape us and impact our life.
Yeah. And in this deep dive, we're going even further.
Right, we're getting into the nitty-gritty.
We're looking at how spending time alone can actually help us become more self-reliant.
So we're using excerpts from Being Alone, Strengthen Your Self-Reliance, which, by the way, if you haven't checked it out, you totally should.
It's a good one.
Yeah. Okay, so self-reliance, what does that even mean?
Yeah, well, it's kind of like, think about it as being able to depend on yourself.
Okay, like being independent.
Yeah. But it's more than just that. It's about trusting your own gut, knowing you've got the skills to handle whatever life throws at you. Not freaking out when things get tough.
Right, because you know you can handle it.
Exactly. And there are so many practical things we can do to build that self-reliance.
Like what?
Well, the source mentions journaling, but not just like Dear Diary kind of stuff, more like documenting your personal growth, tracking how you're developing and all that.
Interesting.
And then there's this idea of setting like mini resilience challenges for yourself.
What do you mean?
So basically, little tests, pushing yourself just a tiny bit outside your comfort zone.
I like that.
Even something as simple as deciding something without having to ask everyone for their opinion.
That's a good one. Actually, I think I need to work on that. What about you? What resonates most with you?
For me, I'm drawn to those resilience challenges. It's like, how do you exercise your self-reliance muscle?
Right, like giving it a workout.
Exactly. It makes me think about emotional resilience, which I feel like is a huge part of this whole self-reliance thing.
Oh, for sure. Being able to handle your emotions and not let them control you.
Right. So like if you're emotionally resilient, you're less likely to be swayed by other people's moods or opinions. You're more grounded in yourself.
That makes a lot of sense.
And the source talks about some really cool practices for building emotional resilience. Things like mindfulness and self-reflection.
Yeah, I've heard about those, but honestly, sometimes I get a little lost with all the self-help jargon.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
But think about it this way. Mindfulness is really just about paying attention to what's happening right now without judging it. And self-reflection is basically just taking some time to think about your thoughts and feelings.
Okay, that makes it more, approachable.
Yeah, it's not about being perfect. It's just about being aware.
So it's about building that awareness so you can deal with your emotions in a healthier way.
Exactly. So, what are some of your go-to ways of handling difficult emotions?
Oh, well, that's a good question. I think for me, talking it out with someone I trust is really helpful. Also, sometimes just taking some time for myself, like going for a walk or reading a book.
Those are great strategies.
Yeah, and it feels like once you have a better handle on your emotions, you're better equipped to solve problems on your own too, right?
Absolutely. And that's a key point the source brings up.
Mm.
Being alone gives you this space to really grapple with problems and come up with your own solutions.
It's like you have to rely on yourself because there's no one else around to bounce ideas off of.
Yeah, and that can be so empowering because even if it takes you a little longer to figure things out, you build this confidence in your own abilities.
I get that.
The source suggests things like learning new skills, taking on projects that push your limits, and breaking down big, scary problems into smaller, more manageable steps.
Good advice.
Have you had any experiences lately where you tackled a problem solo and felt good about it?
I did. My computer was acting up and I was about to call tech support, but I decided to try and figure it out myself. And I did. It took some Googling and some trial and error, but I fixed it. And let me tell you, it felt great.
It's such a good feeling.
Totally. And it makes me realize how important self-care is in all of this.
Oh yeah, that's huge.
You can't be self-reliant if you're running on empty all the time.
So true.
So how do we make sure we're taking care of ourselves?
Well, the source emphasizes having a regular self-care routine.
Okay, so like a schedule.
Not necessarily a rigid schedule, but more like making sure you're intentionally incorporating things like exercise, healthy eating, getting enough sleep.
Basics, but they're so important.
Exactly. And then, of course, doing things that just make you feel good, whether it's spending time in nature, listening to music, or whatever brings you joy. It's about making your mental health a priority.
I love that. So it's not selfish to take care of yourself. It's actually crucial for being able to rely on yourself.
Absolutely. And, it makes you wonder, how intentional are you being with your self-care these days?
Honestly, not as intentional as I could be. So I'm hearing you.
I think we all could use a little nudge in that direction sometimes.
So to wrap this all up, it seems like spending time alone is so much more than just like being by yourself. It's a chance to really cultivate self-reliance in so many different areas of our lives.
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting is how all these different aspects of self-reliance are connected. When you're feeling emotionally resilient, you're more likely to tackle problems head on. And when you're taking good care of yourself, you have the energy and clarity to be both emotionally resilient and a good problem solver.
So it's like this positive feedback loop.
Exactly.
So as you're thinking about all this, here's a question for you to consider. What's one small thing you can do today to foster a little more self-reliance in your own life?
Yeah, it could be something as simple as spending 5 minutes journaling or fixing that leaky faucet you've been putting off.
Or just taking a few moments to breathe and be present with yourself. Whatever it is, take a step, even a tiny one, towards being a more self-reliant you.
And keep exploring your relationship with solitude. There's so much power in being alone.
Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. We'll see you next time.